What is up, Kimberly and Conor here over at Big Red SEO.
What is up, Kimberly and Conor?
Oh, that's so good, so good. Hey, y'all. We are tuning in for Facebook Live. Welcome. Happy Friday. I don't know what you guys got going on in your world. Today we've got a unique thing where we're actually going to do one website audit live for sure. We actually had a great client of ours pop in, a friend. So we're going to tackle that website, kind of give some guidance that everybody can kind of learn from, right? And in addition to that, if for whatever reason you are actually in live and you want us to take a peek of your website, put it down in the comments below and we'll load it as we go, if that makes sense. And just kind of figure out, are you actually hitting the mark regarding SEO, yes or no? Within the design, layout, and flow, is the site doing what it needs to do in order to convert for end users, as well as just show that you're the industry expert? Make sense? So with that being said, Conor, how is your week?
The week has been interesting.
Yeah, interesting as in how?
Can you turn that light on for me? I know. I apologize, people. We've had their own internal thing that the lighting looks a little weird when it goes on. Just turn it on just a little bit down, a little bit down. There. That'll work. Thank you. No, the week has been good. Moved more stuff into my office, so that's a good thing. Google stuff, lots of stuffs have happened just in the last couple of days. The weather reports, when we look at what's happening online, organic and stuff like that, and things are bouncing around pretty good. So there were some new updates with Chrome. There was an update on my phone. My phone no longer works. That's its own little deal.
So your technology world's kind of gone
yeah,
in a nonchalant way.
And oddly enough, even with all those things happening, the week was still pretty good.
Yeah, it's been a good week. So Conor, whenever it comes down to website audits, what is your favorite thing about doing a website audit? Do you have a favorite thing? Like, what is, because you kind of like that whole initiating change and then finding the things that are like missing strategy wise. So what would be your favorite thing about doing audits? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so I guess the big thing is finding something that you didn't know was there. So it's like a treasure hunt and it's an instant reward.
Yeah.
I guess that would be the thing from my end as to how I operate. Getting that score to 100% or as close to 100% as possible.
Yeah.
That's what I strive for. I've got a goal that I can get to and I just need to be able to get to it. I was doing a review on another page and the overall score was 43. And you look at it and you look at the competitors and they've got scores in the 50s and 60s. And well, if I've got a 43, if I do X, Y, and Z and I get a score of 80, I'm going to beat them. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to get to the 100. I just need to get bigger than them. And there was an article that we wrote probably 4 years ago, and it was about not necessarily being the fastest runner in the world, and you just have to run fast enough than your buddy who was being chased by a lion. So let him get caught, and that's okay. So you didn't have to be the fastest runner ever, but that's how it's not enough to come first. Everyone else has to lose.
Oh,
that's
goodness. The philosophy of Conor Tracy, right? The philosophy of Conor Tracy.
No, you do audits too. You do from a design and some of the technical stuff, but a lot more from the design and user interface. I mean, what drives you from that end?
Yeah, so it's interesting you asked that question because, guys, just so you guys know, this guy taught me SEO, right? So it's interesting when I look at website designs, I drop into multiple different silos. I definitely look at it from an SEO conversion standpoint, being the industry leader, right? Providing knowledge, providing data. But then also I look at it from the design and the creative standpoint too. Like where's the buttons at? How are they? Do they say the language of confidence or are you trying to beg for the sale, right? There's multiple different angles within how I do an audit basically, but my favorite part really is helping the businesses learn how to be able to represent themselves, as in a lot of times the businesses we work with, they're super passionate about what they do. They're heart-centered. A lot of them are intuitive, or they're just really, really good at what they do, even if it's not to do with woo-woo industry, but they do what they do really, really well, right? And in the website, what can happen sometimes in designs is that people just get kind of shy, especially if they're creating their own content and they're doing their own layout DIY. They're not sure, where do I put the things? How do I go about it? So for me, it's almost like, whenever you get a brand new puzzle and you open it fresh, well, first off, the smell of a brand new puzzle is always awesome, right? But then second, it's putting all the puzzle pieces out there and figuring out where are all the edges, right? So where are all the things that are like the structure of what a website should have?
The easy part.
Yeah, that's the easy part. And then it's a matter of, okay, what is the image supposed to be like, and pushing and placing those pieces in the flow, right? Which I'm super excited because the gal that we had that popped in to get a free audit, she's got a really, really good mission, and you could feel the passion popping off her page. So I'm super excited to roll up the sleeves and dive into that here in a minute. But that's probably my favorite part in audits, right? When it comes down to if it's a very like legal or technical website, I can do it, but it's a different hat that goes on because sometimes it's just, they're just doing a job and that's all that they want to do. And we can feel the difference between a company that it really is that they want customers, but they're not really focused on wanting to provide information or provide data, right? They just want basically a brochure for somebody to land on if they do a trade show. It's a different type of feel and a different type of audit, if that makes sense.
But not a website that you wouldn't want to do, just one that doesn't light you up as much.
I don't think any website or industry is necessarily bad, especially when it comes to SEO, right? There are definitely industries that like SEO is a super powerful marketing, right? Like it's people are not doing it, people have not thought of it. A lot of times people create these like things where they think SEO is dying or it's going away or it's ending, or some people believe SEO is the same thing as SEM and then social media marketing and all that jazz. There's a lot of stuff out there, guys, that can get really confusing really quick and really fast. SEO is not going anywhere. It won't until the last search engine's gone, right? But with that being said, there's specific stuff that you do have to pay attention to when your website's laid out to ensure that you're actually hitting the mark for the search engines as well as the end users. And I think that that's where it's at. It's the blend of both. You can hop on a website and see where somebody might have over-optimized, we call it keyword stuffing or black hat SEO, in order to get the search engines to rank them, right?
Sure.
We're not saying that some of it doesn't work, but you can definitely feel it from an end user perspective. The customer is not put first. So it's a relationship of the tango of two that you have to like really hit the mark. Yeah. Cool.
Content and technical.
Content and technical, and
and user experience. It has to be the three. I mean, Google does care a little bit about the user experience in that they need to keep their users happy and provide the answers, provide the websites that the users are looking for.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they won't use Google and they'll use Bing or DuckDuckGo or Search One or any of those other places that are out there.
And we're not here to say that one search engine is better than the others, guys. We primarily work in Google, and we've said this before, we'll say it again. The reason for that is Google has the strictest rules. They actually have the strictest best practices for businesses to be able to meet the guidelines, and it doesn't mean that you can't break the rules, right? And it doesn't mean you can't flex the rules. You can for sure do that. We personally don't do it. We've actually exited out of several different partnerships based on people that wanted to do the black hat or even dabble into the gray hat. At the end of the day, your guys' reputation is so important to us from a business that we're not willing to risk that. Could you possibly get a boost just for 30 days, 45 days, maybe a season? Yeah, but for us, like, we treat every single project like it's our own business. And then so we just don't even play in those realms, if that makes sense. It's not to say that it doesn't work, and it's not to say that one search engine's better than the next. We just always play in the Google world because everything else follows. Now, the unique thing is the DuckDuckGo. Like, the DuckDuckGo has become severely popular, and then I think you even mentioned Verizon's coming out with their own search engine.
So Search One or One Search.
Yep. So the DuckDuckGo, the reason why that's been pretty popular is that they don't actually track your cookies. They don't track the data. They don't track the information. So if I understand that right, based on how Conor's taught me, what that means is if you do a search in incognito in Chrome, Chrome right now, they don't track any of your stuff. So that's very similar to DuckDuckGo. Now, even in incognito, I think that there's some little small parts that they probably do get access to, like your IP address, or there's some kind of like basic stuff. As far as DuckDuckGo, it's actually ran by the users. They have this, it's not a committee, but the whole development is based on the people and individuals that don't want information pushed out there. They really enjoy their privacy, and they have that privacy.
With the incognito end, if you do searches within that, it doesn't store in your history. So it doesn't use the cookies. It doesn't do that end of things. If you do the searches in a normal web browser, and then try to repeat the search in incognito, it can bring in some of your search queries, but generally won't use your location and things like that unless you click the option to say OK. So when you're looking at your competitors, especially local competitors, you should use the incognito version or just not logged in at all. And that'll provide you a better landscape view of what's actually around you. So with all of that, I mean, let's go ahead and jump in. I don't see...
thanks everybody for tuning in. Like, we've got several people joining us live. Pop in and say hello. Hey Lakeisha, hey Felipe, how are you? So if you guys want a live, like Lakeisha, I know you got a live audit on there already. But if you're new to us, pop in the comments and we'll go ahead and audit yours. But yeah, let's dive into the first website audit, or the first website that we got from one of our dear clients, Loveline. She popped her friend over, and I believe you pronounce her name, is it Nazim? Hopefully we said that right, so the website that she gave us was findlovewithin.me. So Conor is going to try and bring up a brief screen. Maybe he's testing the software.
And it's one of these buttons. I believe it's this one here. So you guys should see a website on there right now. If you can post a comment in the comment section that you see it.
Yeah, just to let us know if you see the graphic. There should be a flower with kind of a gray background.
So the website is called findlovewithin.me. And, you know, when I first loaded it, so I've got my own notes that I've made on what I've seen, and Kim has a handful of notes on what she's seen. And then we'll dig into some of these in the live mode also. So let me pop back over here. Okay, so you're back on video.
This is super fun. Okay, so this is the first time that we're sharing. So I don't think that we can actually do a live flow through. So we can. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Can you go ahead and flip that over, and we'll just dive in. And
so you have the screen open over here, right? That's the live version right there?
Yes.
Okay. And then if I close this and open this here, you should see my mouse on the screen. And it'll take a second to show up over there, but once it does. So anyway, let's go ahead and do
my ball of order is like, ah!
You know, I have a 20-second delay that comes out of my software, and then Facebook itself has a 30-second delay. So when you guys comment, it usually takes a second or two.
Cool.
So I cannot see the mouse moving there, but
yeah.
Anyway.
So the thing that I love about this website in general is I love the contrast colors. I love the fact that it's not like a stark white background, but it's also not a stark gray background. So there's actually some textures and different layers inside this website. For me personally, like whenever I landed into it, I was just a tad bit confused on exactly what type of service was being offered. Mainly because I looked at the photo and then I saw the catchphrase behind or at the bottom that says find love within and you'll find love everywhere. I love the catchphrase and I love the essence of the picture based on being on this specific screen for probably about a minute and a half. Finally, my eyes gravitated over and I realized a minute and a half is a long time, guys. But what I do is I try to block out the fact I've been doing this for a long time and just kind of looking at it from an end user perspective. So what I did was as soon as I came down on this page and I read this, I actually started to scroll down the page. So most people will skim a page before they actually read the entire page. Sometimes what happens is they'll either do an L-shape skim or they'll do a Z-shape skim. So what that means is L means that at the bottom left hand, they'll go all the way down, and then they'll go to the right, and then they'll do that L again all the way through as they scroll. Or they'll do a Z shape, which means that they're going to look up at the logo and they're going to go across the menu navigation all the way at the top, and then kind of come across like kind of diagonal, if that makes sense, and then go down to the footer and figure out what is the information. Now you might have, if you've been around a lot of websites, you might not do the L or the Z, right? So like for us, we just kind of take everything all in one. An area for me where I kind of got a little confused was I was trying to figure out, okay, what is she actually attempting to sell? What does she actually want me to buy? So whenever I actually loaded the beginning of the website where it has the main image as well as, so on my computer, just so you know, the catchphrase actually doesn't show. So on my laptop, just to show you guys real quick, I don't know if I can, so this is what I see, right? So I know that it's like kind of shaky or whatever. And it's not as it's not as colorful. Okay, right? But here's where I see it. So I see, okay, so hold on. I see the logo, right? And I see the image. This is my laptop. This is full screen 100%. So I see the menu nav, but I actually don't see the catchphrase. So all I see is an image. And what happens is there's a huge amount of landscape that is actually not being utilized within the website. What I would personally recommend is either taking that finding love within and find love everywhere, shift it up. So if this was my website and if I was working with you, I would actually flip the image where the flower is to the right of the screen, and then your text is to the left of the screen.
This text, the find love within?
So there's a couple things. Like I feel, and this is me making a huge assumption, it's a beautiful quote, but what I personally would like after reading all of the site content is the content right below this initial catchphrase is actually what I want up at the top where the menu or where the image is. So this right here where it says healing begins within. I personally would take that heading, healing begins within, and then have that paragraph left aligned with the actual image, if that makes sense. So where the flower is right now. And then right below that, I would actually do healing.coaching.consultingservices.photography.
You're talking down at the bottom of the image?
Yeah, so down at the bottom, or you can actually like try to make it, and I know that this is abstract, guys, because we don't have pen and paper, but try to make it to where it's all encompassed in one. So if you've ever followed the book Story Brand or the Thought and Theory of Story Brand, basically what they're saying is, hey, within the website, capture the person's attention immediately and then tell them within that first landscaping, what is it that you actually do? Now, I know that in the top area where your menu navigation is, you actually have the services listed out. We actually recommend that. So instead of services, if you have specific niche, which is all across the board, it's better to have them individualized in your menu navigation. You've got that. That's pretty cool. But I'll tell you, I didn't see the menu navigation right away. Like the text is extremely thin. When I hover over it, it kind of disappears a little bit. Now I realize that I'm almost 40, so my eyesight after looking at monitors half of my life is kind of a little there, a little not. So what I would recommend is have the services that you're looking to onboard the most within that image graphic. Now, again, I assume that you actually did that image. So if you did, kudos. I actually loved all the images inside your website. I felt your essence, and especially when I landed into the photography. But the thing is at the beginning of your website, that is the most real estate that you've got. One other thing too, yeah, I see the comments. I'm glad that this is helpful. Yay! One of the other things too, in that top menu nav, in that real estate, is have a call to action button there. So either say
up here or here.
No, inside the image if possible. Now I realize your website's in Wix, so I will let you know that a lot of our recommendations come from our experience in WordPress, right?
And it's not that they can't be done in Wix. It just might take a little bit more
Yep.
tweaking, and it's outside of our realm
Or
of what we do.
And what might happen is maybe some of the text has to actually be put into Photoshop inside the image. We don't recommend that because Google can't read images really, and like they can't read the text inside of images, right?
Right.
They don't know what the images are unless you actually tell them what's inside the image. So in ideal SEO perspective, having the most text in your website outside of an image is better. However, I will tell you, sometimes you got to do it dirty, and you just got to do it to look professional.
Yep.
But in addition to that top menu area, I would put a call to action button right where the bottom of the flower is right now. And this call to action button is really, really, really important. So the reason why it's important is inside the website, you actually have call to action buttons, but you have them say, tell me more. What they actually need to do is they need to say, why do they need to contact you? You can for sure have learn more or tell me more. It's a very common text to use. But why not say, hire me now? Or why not say, let's chat for a 15-minute phone call?
Let me just make sure that I'm not zoomed out.
No, I think you're fine.
I'm at 100% here. It's just, when I was looking at the button, it was fairly small when I saw the button.
The buttons are pretty small. The other thing too is what you'll see is, Connor, can you hover over the button? The text color actually goes away.
It looks like it's red.
So what it is it's actually a tan color text, and then the button is actually tan, so the text disappears.
Gotcha.
So that's just a cosmetic error that actually needs to be corrected. And we would recommend doing that sooner rather than later. If you can get the button bigger, that's even better. People love buttons, and I'll be honest, the way that the text is right now, if I didn't hover over it and it didn't change colors, I wouldn't have known that it was a button.
So when I did my scan earlier, I didn't see the button.
Oh, so see, there you go. So,
Sorry.
No, no apologies at all. Hopefully this is helpful. Hey, Loveline, thanks for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in live.
And hi, Seema.
Really quickly, if you've got a website that you want audited with us live, feel free to put the link below, and we'll get you added to the list. So the other part too, so as we scroll down, the other part too is, personally, when I went to your website, on the homepage, I actually want to see the text that's on your about page inside the homepage. So what a lot of people don't realize is the homepage is almost kind of like the brochure of who you are. Yes, it's going to say the services that you have. Yes, it'll say the location. Definitely have testimonials. There's nothing wrong with that at all. We'll talk about the testimonials here in a second, but I actually wanted to see who you were without me actually hitting the about. And the reason for that is your services are actually you. You are performing the services on everything, and your essence pops off in an image, right? So with it being Reiki healing, with it being coaching, with it being consulting services, especially the niched area of consulting that you're in, I think some of it was like domestic violence, trauma, a bunch of other stuff, which is really, really cool for our world right now. They need to see you, and they actually want to connect with you to see that they can trust you. So there's this tango dance, and I'm not sure if that's comfortable for you or if it's not comfortable for you. In some businesses, people can get away with their picture not being on the homepage. For yours, I would almost say that it's a vital thing. It's required. Yep. If I was looking for somebody to work with trauma that I've experienced, I would want to see their head first, like their head first. I would want to see their actual whole entire essence, their person, their human, and that would be very, very important for me versus just seeing a blurb write-up or text. Now, if you did take the content from your about page, I would actually request that you write different content for your about page totally. So that's the other part of it is I love the stuff that's in your about page. That's amazing. Where could you expand on that even more, right? And make more content into the about. Sometimes what happens is in website designs, either people have heard or maybe they just think that less is better, less is more. That's a very common thing in marketing, very common thing just out online now. It's kind of like that minimal look. When you come from it from an SEO perspective, Google actually has a minimum recommendation of 250 words. We actually do a minimum of 450 words. And the reason for that is you're actually telling Google, the search engines, what is it that you do and why do you do it? So inside your About page, an area to expand upon, not just in your content and your details, is put what people can expect when they contact you, or what can they expect when they work with you. If you're big on communication, or we have a lot of clients that they just naturally are able to see people for where they're at and then give them a safe, sacred space, especially with you being in Reiki healing. Those types of languages might be really, really good for you spot on, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I've still got the About page up for myself when I'm reading this. Now my laptop is, 2.5 feet away from me. Okay, and that's usually where my laptop sits. But the text was small for me to read.
Right.
Need this bigger. The script, I understand script, and it makes it look a little pretty. But if that can be a bigger size font, larger size, that's going to help out somebody like me that, I can't read it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very hard to read. So for me to read this, I would have to zoom in the page somewhere around here. This is now at a size that I can read. And you haven't lost anything. So all I've done is just zoomed in the page by, I think, 25%.
Yeah.
So bringing it back down to 100, it's a struggle for me to read. And anytime that a user has to struggle or it takes a second to understand something, we want to remove all of those blocks from somebody.
Yeah.
So if we can just make those couple of quick edits, I think that would help in that end of things.
Yeah, for sure. Really quickly, also on the homepage, just a couple housekeeping things. Actually, it's just site-wide in general. One, the copyright is out of date, so
let me go back.
Make sure you get that updated. So it looks like it's back from 2018.
So down here at the bottom.
Yep. And I don't know if your Wix platform is free or not free. So this might be something that you have control over or not. But I would actually recommend go ahead and removing created by Wix or created with Wix.com. It's your choice. It's up to you. No big deal. What we have found is whenever people leave those scripts down at the bottom of the website, they have a higher tendency of getting spammed, as well as getting requests from just cold calling website designers. A lot of time they're not within the US. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes when you get multiple contacts like that, especially spam, and they keep hitting you over and over and over, they actually have a software script that they run sites through, and then so they actually look for that text. So that text is a very common stage text on any Wix website, basically.
I laugh and I'm going red because
he almost kicked the whole thing down.
I just kicked my main camera up above this.
Yeah.
And I think I just moved it slightly.
Oh, it's fine. Okay, so, and it looks like she has a comment here. She said she knows I need to share more about myself and my journey. I've definitely been resistant to sharing that. So if you don't mind, what I would say is this. I totally get and I understand the resistance. Sometimes it's really a little bit easier to kind of step back and just take a moment to say, or just realize, okay, if you were able to put yourself in the position where you were writing third person in your writing, write what you would want to say, write what you would want to share, and then come back and actually write it first person, if that makes sense. So what happens is you actually use discernment and objectivity. You also have the ability to infuse emotion, and for you, emotion is going to be important. Good feeling vibes is going to be important. Language for you that's going to be really important is expressing the confidence that people can feel, as well as the ultimate connection with their divinity and divine self. Versus kind of like sometimes in the healing world, coaching world, people get really into that. It's just like negative, get out of the rut type of thing. That's going to be the opposite of energy that you're going to want to infuse in your writing. And again, your website writing is also already really good. So I would just say expand upon it. And another thing for you would be, decide in your website, are you looking for people to fill out a contact form, or would you want them to call you? So on your contact in the connect page, you actually have a contact form, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's very standard. It has the name, email, subject, as well as message. I can tell you in most cases, people won't fill out subject. They really don't know what to put in there, if that makes sense. So what you might want to do is switch it out to what type of service are you looking for, and either have a radio button or a checkbox where they can choose more than one, and put your healing, your consulting, your coaching, your photography services, and maybe offer an option of I'm just not sure yet, and then that way they can click it as well, and then they can put more information into a message. One other thing too is sometimes people only want to provide email, but sometimes people are actually phone people. There's like this assumption that like now people don't want phone calls, but believe it or not, if somebody actually calls me whenever I put in an online request, I'm super excited. So maybe in your contact form, actually put a phone number option where they can fill out the phone number in the form.
Oh, for the user.
Yep, for the user to fill out for sure. Now, if you prefer to get phone calls from your prospects, I would actually recommend your phone number goes in the top where your menu navigation is. So scroll all the way up to the page.
So taking that and putting
putting it up there somehow, maybe creating a cute little button, again, that makes it pop off the page. It's completely up to you, but what I will say is within the contact page down at the bottom, with your contact information, you can actually build that inside your footer where it flows throughout your entire site, if that makes sense. So you can have your phone number, your email, as well as your actual address inside the footer where it shows everywhere and not just on the contact page.
And from an SEO perspective, having the address and information at the bottom of your pages is a good thing. So your phone number and the location information reinforces to Google who your service area actually is. So putting that down there is going to help. You can do little extra things called schema markup, which gives either star ratings, pricing, hours of operation, stuff like that. All of that can then be picked up by Google and Alexa, and other voice-operated systems. So having that in there, you'll want to check if Wix allows you to do schema markup. Schema is SCHEMA, and it's basically code for the search engines to use to figure out your website. So it's an easy way of providing more details to the search engine.
And the rest of the website is awesome. So one last thing on the testimonials real quick. So it's very common on testimonials to pop them in, especially on a homepage. Nothing wrong with that, right? What I would recommend is putting one testimonial in each service page that you've got based on that specific service. So what I mean by that is, say that we go into the consulting page, right? And you actually have a written testimonial of somebody from consulting, put it in there. I would actually recommend right above where it says let's discuss what you need help with. So I would actually recommend putting one testimonial, or if you stay in Wix platform, if they have the ability to do a rotator, you can for sure have different testimonials laid out like you do on the homepage. There's nothing wrong with that. Just realize some people might not sit there and read it. Sometimes what happens is they actually prefer the things to move and then to put their mouse over where they're reading to stop it, if that makes sense. So people are really looking for action in websites.
Movement actually increases the amount of time somebody will spend on the website. What we call dwell time. So the longer somebody spends on a page, and then clicks off to go do something else, Google can look at that and say, well, they spent X amount of time. Now there's conflicting information on that Google doesn't pay attention to the time that somebody spent on a page, and then there's other information that is really just how many pages somebody went to. But we've always used the time being a factor. If somebody spends 5 minutes looking at a page, that must have information. As our own internal conversion tracking, that would be a good sign from our end if somebody spent time on a page. Now, nobody's going to be spending 5 minutes on your contact page unless they're filling out the contact form, and that's a good thing.
Or they call you.
Or they're on
those are always the good ones.
They call, they're on the phone, and they left the screen open, and that's always great to have too. But from the website, now my own take, when I went through the website, and I'll just kick back here to the home page, so I can show you. And this home button doesn't need to be there because people will just click your logo.
Yeah, so here's the deal. This is where we're a little bit different, right? So some people actually do still enjoy the home page in the home menu navigation. So you decide. It is very common and trendy right now that people actually utilize little home icons. So if you can find, and again, I don't really know what's available in Wix, but what I see in your website is if you could find a little home icon that has a heart on it, then I would like use something like that. You could even have a little icon created that's custom for you.
Sure. So when I looked at the website, when I first loaded it up, I had a look at across the top. As Kim mentioned, the Z pattern is what I did.
Yep.
I looked across the top, had a look at the banner briefly, read what this was down here, and then scrolled down to figure out what's going on. The fade in, fade out didn't bother me. I from a user aspect, I thought it was fine. So no big deal. I had a look at this here, and this was fine. I could read what it was. Okay, you're into helping people. And then I read this here, but when I say I read this, what I actually read was Becoming the Lotus, and then I read Healing, Coaching, Services, Photography. I didn't read anything on the other side. That's just how I operated. The next section here, you're in Texas, great. And then I was into testimonials, and I skipped everything in the testimonials, went to the bottom, and then said, what is this website about?
Right.
Because I had no clue what, I knew it was a healing website of some sort, but I didn't know what it was. And when I finally did scroll back down, it wasn't until I went into here and then I found Reiki. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's a Reiki, it's a yoga type website or whatnot. That's then when I started to make connections.
That's where Conor categorizes things, by the way.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, that's the stuff my wife's into. Got it.
Yeah, it's one of those websites.
It's one of those websites. Oh, so funny.
So, but it wasn't until that point that I understood, okay, it's dealing with Reiki, and that's where the healing and the consulting end of things came up. So, as Kim had mentioned earlier, taking this information here, where is it? Here it is, the healing, coaching, services, photography. Taking all this text here and putting it up into the top is going to now give me instant information of what website it is I'm looking at. As I come back into my Z pattern, I'm going to have the text here. The flower is going to be on the right-hand side. I'll have the text as to what's going on. There'll be a button here for contact, and then we've got the rest of the information as you go through the website. So just making that change, now my brain will know what's actually going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was my first initial on the homepage. Can you bring that up over there? Is there anything there?
Yeah. So, well, I see this. Okay. So let us know if you have any other questions with that. I think that's a good place for you to start.
Can I go technical?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that we've looked at all the
design,
the front end of things, I do a lot more of the technical back end of stuff. One website that I want you to write down and go to, it's Google Page Speed Insights, and I'll bring up what the page is here. Go here and there. Did that bring it up? Yes, it did. Okay. So Google Page Speed Insights, what this does, it does a quick look at your website, both from a mobile and from a desktop version, and can see what's actually happening. Where are there any speed constraint issues? Are there areas that can be improved for JavaScripts and stuff like that? So this will give us some base information. And just like with the dash lights on a car, red is not normally good. Orange or yellow is kind of one of those things you probably need to pay attention to, and green means everything's okay. So when I look at it here on the mobile, we've got a score of 30 out of 100, and this is on the mobile, and on the desktop you get a 57. Okay. The item that I pay the most attention to is what's called the first contentful paint. From a technical back end, it's the TTFB, or the time to first byte. It's what actually slows the website down before the website starts to show. So you can see here there's a one screen gap, and this is actually 1 second is what it takes on your desktop. It takes 1 second before your website starts to show. On a mobile phone, however, it can take up to 3 seconds before your website starts to show.
Yeah.
And the first contentful paint, we've got your logo, the image doesn't show yet, and then your tagline does. So this page, when you get some time, dig it through here. If you click on each of these here, this tab right here, this will give you more information as to what each of the things are. As you go down through the pages, it talks about reducing third-party code. You can expand that, and it'll show you what the code is. Well, one of the codes is coming from Wix. There's nothing you can do to expand that or make that faster. There's talks about the main thread that can take up to 15 seconds to load. Some of it has to do with the scripts. The scripts were the fade in, fade out of the text on the homepage. So that could be slowing your website down a little bit. You'll just want to have a look at your analytics and figure out what exactly is going on from that end. So speaking of the analytics, I didn't see Google Analytics installed in your website.
Which is a big one.
So get that installed. I saw the area for the code, just the numbers weren't there. So get that installed. That's going to tell you what pages people are going to and how much time they're spending on the websites.
And if you don't know, Google Analytics is actually a free tool provided by Google. I think Conor has created a couple YouTube videos where it can actually show you how to set that up. So I'll see if he can pop in a link in here. So it said, can you post the link name as well here? Loveline, are you talking about the software he just used?
Oh, yeah,
maybe?
This here.
Okay, the developer.
Yeah, I actually just did a search on Google. Sorry, let me bring it up here.
So you just...
It's Google Page Speed is all the search is inside of Google, and it's Page Speed Insights. It's from developers.google.
So you just drop that into the Facebook. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I will do it.
Okay, so thanks everybody for tuning in. If you want us to take a peek at your website, go ahead and put it into the comments below. You got a couple more things here? We've got somebody else wanting to...
Yeah, just real quick on here, just a couple other things. Title tags and meta descriptions are not filled out on the website, and they should be filled out. Right now, the homepage just says home, healing says healing, consulting says just consulting. You'd want to put in where your area is or what it is you're actually dealing with. That's going to show in the results page for Google. H1 tags are only the title, but you can't do anything because that's Wix. And then your next thing that you will want to start doing is getting links from other websites. Right now there's just a couple of websites that link to you. If you can get some more links, that's going to help improve the overall traffic for the website, and then Google will kind of take things from there.
Right.
So that's the real quick version of the technical end of things.
Awesome. So if you have any other questions, feel free to let us know. If you need some in-depth more, let us know. We have consulting hours where we can kind of walk through that stuff via phone and create a checklist for you. But this actually will be live on Facebook, the video, and then Conor's going to upload it on YouTube as well. So if you need to come back, you can always pop over to YouTube and rewatch it, pause it, however you need to do that. Okay, so we've got another request to look at the site, and then hey Barb, how are you? We'll have Conor tackle that one here just in a second. Okay, so I'm not too sure. I think this is Ari, A-R-I. I'm not too sure if that's how I pronounced it. If I pronounced it incorrectly, I apologize. But he popped in here and he just said, hey, I'm an agency owner and would love to hear your thoughts on my site. So his website, first off, I actually went to your Facebook and found out what your website is. So next time, just go ahead and put the link in the comments if that makes sense. I assume that you didn't because you're an agency. Super cool. I respect that. So his website is actually brandmecreations.com. So Conor, I don't know if you can load that up on the fly, maybe not.
What's the website?
So it's brandmecreations.com. So to just give everybody a quick heads up, basically it looks like he offers multiple different services regarding marketing, right? It looks like the services are galore. And so what that means is there could be like it looks like he does web design, SEO, definitely ads, lead generation, social media, and so forth, right? So really quickly, from our perspective, whenever we look at this, there's a couple different things. One, we actually used to have a design as an agency before, a website. And we actually noticed that whenever we had it look more like an agency, we actually lost different traffic. It definitely has a lot of information in it. It's not that that is a bad thing, right? And if you're looking to show that you're a big agency, super, super cool. But if you're wanting to kind of have the relationship built on long-term or being there for the partner, I would recommend for you to have more information about you or your team on your homepage. So it actually has a lot of stuff about your services. When I go into your About page, I actually see your face, which you're a friendly face. So if you actually visit BigRedSEO.com, you'll notice that Conor and I have our images all over our website. We've actually gotten a lot of business, and a lot of people have told us, hey, like, we love the fact that your image is actually there, so I can tell that I'm working with an individual versus it being a big box company where I don't know who I'm going to be working with. So for you, I would say, as the founder and as the owner running the business, see if that actually aligns with what your overall mission is. I'm not sure in your sales process if you actually are the point of contact and or if there's a sales team that's a point of contact. So just something to think about and consider. We're always going to come from it from an SEO perspective, first off, which it looks like you kind of offer a lot of different services. I love the fact that you've got a video inside the main slider. Videos are huge right now. You already know this. And let's see what else here.
So the couple of things that I looked at, just as when I scroll down the website, let me bring that up over here. So when I came down on the homepage, the few things that I highlighted, the copyright date says 2019, so go ahead and get that updated.
So here, really quickly, to pause real quick, just to add that, when it comes to agency and marketing, the copyright is really, really, really important to have updated. It's important just in any business, but when it comes to marketing, people actually determine, are they still in business or are they not? Is the website updated often? Is it not? So the copyright's a really, really important thing.
Yep. The other item here for the testimonials, each of the images there on the testimonials are broken, so you'll want to get those resolved. Broken images are a flag to Google, so make sure those get squared away. But the big thing for me, as I went down, the blog here is nice to have, and we certainly recommend putting the blog there so that it'll link off to the other pages. But when I went into the About page, the item for me was, I couldn't tell if these were real images or stock images. And my own personal thing is that I don't like when somebody tries to be bigger than they are. Now, these could very well be yours, and if they are, awesome. But if they are, it needs pictures of you and your team in those images, so people like me don't say, oh, is this just stock photography?
Yeah, it's interesting because on the About, you actually have the picture of you, which is super cool, but I don't see a picture of any other team people. So with that picture of the team in the front, as well as the video on the homepage, right? If you do have a team, we would recommend you actually having those team images. And if you don't have a team, that's super cool as well. Like what we've found, especially in agencies, because we've provided consulting to help people from an SEO perspective from that. Believe it or not, people actually like to know what kind of size you are. And sometimes people make the assumption, well, if I say I'm a one-man shop, then people are not going to want to do business with me. That's actually not correct. It's not correct at all. People would rather you be a niche in your industry and you be the authority leader and them know that you're going to take care of them than not. Again, we're making a lot of assumptions on your business, so we might not very well be hitting the ball on the park here. You've got a lot of good content inside here, right? So that's the cool thing about it is you meet the numbers, right? A lot of movement on the services where the images kind of bounce around. That actually distracts me just a little bit. However, movement is big.
Yeah, there's two things. I know Kim was going to say it's distracting. For me, I'm like, ooh, that's kind of cool the way it pops. But the item that I would be concerned about is what this does to the page loading speed. Because you're loading in a bunch of JavaScript in the background and what that actually does in terms of performance. So you'll want to check that. And then also here in the footer, we do have the hello. You've got your your email address and a phone number, but I don't know where you're located. 949 area code,
Yeah.
I can't recall where that is.
Well,
So
and the thing
that
is,
should be there.
Yeah, so what I will say is if it's an agency or if it's a small, I'll call it mom and pop shop because that's what we are. It doesn't mean that that's who you are. Address and investing in an office is really, really important. It's not to say that working from your home is a bad thing. It's not at all. What we've found in the 9 years of doing this is a lot of companies come to us and they'll be working for somebody and they'll be working out of their home and they flip the switch and invest in somebody that actually has an office because they believe that they're taking the business serious. Now, again, we don't really know a whole lot about your company in general. It looks like you may not be commenting down below. So take it for what it's worth in this, just in the fact that we loaded you up really quick and really fast.
Yep.
But the other part too, really quick, is Conor did mention the copyright down below. Really quickly, something else that's a little out of spec here is if your company name, Brand Me Creations, is a registered trademark, the R for the registered trademark needs to go to your company name, not the all rights reserved 2019. So it actually should be a copyright symbol 2020, Brand Me Creations, and then all rights reserved, if that makes sense. So it's just a little bit backwards. It could actually be the coding that did it. I'm not too sure, but I would get that kind of cleaned up because
is there a registered trademark on there?
So there's an R for registered trademark. So like people, and it depends on who you're doing business with. If you've got somebody that doesn't really know website design, they're not really going to think of it. But if you've got somebody that wants to pay you 5, 6, 7 figures to be part of their team and their marketing, they're going to pay attention to that. So just really quickly for you, if you can update it on your own, I would get that updated quicker rather than later.
And if you've registered your trademark for your business name down there, it likely should be also in your logos.
It should be in the logo.
The rules when it comes to copyright, and especially the registered trademarks, is that if you don't enforce it, you lose it.
Yep.
Okay, so if you have it, you have to have the registered trademarks in there. Now, if you don't have a registered trademark, you can't have that symbol.
Yeah.
So it's one or the other, and you just got to pick which one it is.
Yep. And if you've got it registered trademarked, man, I would put that, you name your company inside your website quite a lot. I would put it in there. Something to think about and consider is I just came over to the services part in the SEO. My eyes gravitated towards it. It looks like towards the end of the paragraph, this is my little, I don't want to say pet peeve, but it's something I catch. You actually have your company name at the beginning of 2 sentences back to back. So one just says Brand Me Creations offers premier SEO services. The other one says at Brand Me Creations we use SEO. So what I would do is I would just maybe figure out what language for you works the best, but maybe it's we. So maybe one of them is your company name and then you say we use. But I would tend to not do the company name back to back. Sometimes what happens is people actually will they'll see the name after the second sentence and they'll skip completely over the entire sentence because they think it's duplicated. So just another small thing to kind of look at and take a peek at.
Yeah.
And
so
hope
of
that
course,
helps.
saying all of this, we are we are an SEO company ourselves.
We definitely don't. Yeah.
Providing the review for another SEO company, we have no problem doing
Connor's
that.
pits are probably sweating, and I'm like, let's go, let's do it. Right?
No, not really too concerned. I mean, the clients that we deal with are the clients that we deal with.
Yeah.
But if you're doing the SEO end of things, definitely get those tweaks done. The company name being repeated several times in there doesn't need to happen from an SEO perspective. From a branding, sure, but from an SEO and for that particular page, your name shouldn't be repeated several times. You're actually hurting your overall SEO by doing that.
Yeah, and I think I think you got to figure out what the right number is to say the company name, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing too, is you definitely don't want to keyword stuff your own company name. However, you do have a cool company name, so why not rock it, right? I mean, he's got a cool company name. So, okay, so the next one, and if you guys are tuning in, we're actually going to go a little over time. So if you want a site audit,
stop up there.
Yeah,
and bring
let
it back
us
up.
know. And then we're going to tackle Barb. Okay, so Barb Brady popped in. Hey, Barb, how are you? Long time no see. So, Conor, if you can load barbbradycpa.com for us, I'm going to go ahead and read this. And then if you could also pull up the software, so barbbradycpa.com. Perfect. Okay, she says, I have a lot of issues with speed. I think my designer made it pretty, but did a poor job with SEO. I actually had to even do the H1 tags. I had SiteGround install Smush, but I am thinking I will have to go through every image. Does this make sense? My website is barbbradycpa.com. Mm-hmm. Well, first off, Barb, knowing your old website as well as this website is definitely you.
This is night and day.
I actually love it. It's a true representation of you. I'm super, super, super excited you went on that path because I do know that you had quite a journey of figuring out what to put in and how to put it in there. Really quickly, Connor's going to go ahead and put it into the software of speed really quick to look at this. Unfortunately, sometimes what happens is there's designers that focus on SEO and there's the designers that just do the design, if that makes sense. It's not. We don't mean to trash talk designers, right? Because designers are here to build the design. It's kind of like a house. A house person's going to build the house, and then they're going to have the interior person come in and do the design inside of it, right, in the house to make it feel good. Sometimes designers don't do certain SEO stuff just because they don't know. They just literally they don't know to do it.
Well, Ari was around.
Yeah,
Sorry.
super cool.
Thanks, Ari.
So with that being said, sometimes what happens is either you can do the image smusher like you said, or you might actually have to physically go in and actually do the images. The other part too is inside the website, what we've found in other website audits is maybe sometimes the designers actually put a lot of bloated code inside the website design, which can actually lead to the load times taking even longer. The other part too is it depends on how they actually design the website. There's some structure stuff that can actually require the entire website to be loaded with the homepage load versus the individual pages loading in the background, if that makes sense. So I know that we're talking kind of tech geek. I promise Conor will swing back around and make it understandable.
I'll speak more tech in just a second.
Yeah, so Conor, you pulled up the software, so go ahead and drop on in.
Yep. So basically, this is the page speed insights. So we covered that just a few seconds ago as to what's going on. This is Google's tool to figure out how fast your website is and what's taking time. So we have the mobile version. You've got a score of 11 out of 100, and then your desktop is 51. And the big part in the speed, we've got a speed index here of 11 seconds. So your time to first byte, again, that's 6 seconds. This could actually be web hosting related. It could be your hosting company, not just your website itself. Your web host company plays a big part in the speed. Not to bash any hosting companies, but I do have to mention a couple. Things like Bluehost and GoDaddy, for example, generally their time to first byte is slower than other places like SiteGround or Kinsta or Flywheel and places like that. Mm-hmm. So you should have a look at that information and just see, is that maybe causing some problems. So we do have some speed issues in here. The time to interactive on a mobile phone is almost 14 seconds. Now, when you do it on your phone, it's probably not taking 14 seconds, but Google uses 3G as being their speed of default, because that is what's used worldwide, not just here in the US. Most of the US is at a 4G speed, but they base all their speed stuff off of 3G. So we can see down here, this is the big part that's really holding you back. It's the NextGen formats. So you mentioned Smush, was it Smush It?
Yeah, Smush.
Okay, so Smush is going to reduce the size of images for you, but you can see here on a mobile phone, this is an icon stroke. This is 1.3 megs. We got another one for 1.2, another one for 1.2. Those are huge. You've got massive images in here that are just not reduced enough. So those really need to get reduced. We don't have anything using the NextGen formats. And these are the formats, the JPEG 2000, JPEG XR, and the WebP. Now we use WebP every time we develop a site, and we can convert a website for WebP. But basically what that is, that's the image format used by Amazon and eBay and all the big sites. It'll take a big image and reduce it down to 20 or 30 kilobytes. And like these 1.3, that can easily be dropped down to less than 100 and not lose any quality.
Yeah. Because your images are super cool. So the images are super cool. We don't want you to lose the quality on those. But it looks like they could definitely be smaller, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and and the thing is that it's big for no reason. This is the image. I mean, 1.2 megs for that. It's a section within the website. So if I load up the actual site here, it's for these icons. The width of those is too big. That needs to be dropped all the way down. So there's definitely some cleanups with that. That'll need to happen from a speed end of things. From a technical end of things, just a quick look at things on that. Title tags, descriptions, I always look at those just to see what's happening. Your website looks like it's about 50 pages, 58 pages. You do have unique titles in all of them. Descriptions are filled out everywhere. H tags are all different. H2 tags are all different. So certainly from that end of things, it looks okay there. Would need to do a further dig in there and see, are you capturing the right market? But at least from a structure end of things, that part looks okay. And then if I bring up, go down here to the bottom, copyright is updated, so that's all good. And it links off to the copyright page, which is okay. You got terms of service in here, and you got a privacy policy. Those are great. Those are used by Google all the time. Filling out the questionnaire, that leads to a pop-up. No problems there. You've got the catchphrase in here. That's all good. You've done good. You have done good. Good blogs in there. I love the rollovers here. Certainly from a design end of things, at least on the home page. Oh, the menu goes away when I go up.
Yeah, so a couple things.
Where's
One,
the menu
refresh. Maybe she doesn't have a menu.
No, it was there a second ago.
So refresh the site.
So check on that. There's the menu.
And
so if I go down, the menu stays. If I go up, the menu stays. If I go to the top, it disappears.
So that's,
and now I came back this time. So there's some sort of JavaScript in there that's causing some issues.
That might have bloated code in there too. Who knows? Really quickly, I did pop one of the images in that kind of had the light bulb. I think it's where you're at right now, Conor. Barb, really quickly, yeah. So one of the images was 2500 width wise at 1660 height wise, right? So the thought process is, even with a large monitor, the maximum width should be 1920 right now. So that's like full width, huge monitors. It's like the biggest monitor so far, if that makes sense.
Yeah, some people will have their pixel dimensions set up at 2200.
Yeah.
But for those 1900s, it's enough to be able to stretch without losing much in terms of distortion.
Yeah, I would also say take in consideration who your ideal clientele is. They're probably not going to have huge gamer monitors, if that makes sense. They're going to have traditional, regular 27, 32 inch monitors. So really, the point is...
I was looking at a 49-inch monitor the other day.
Oh, geez.
So anyway,
okay.
Kim can continue.
The reason why I'm saying this is, on that image, just me popping one image in, if you could take it from 2500 down to 1920, it actually wouldn't affect your height. I mean, it's going to shave down your height, but your height right now is okay as it is now. So you could actually shave down some of the file size just by taking it from 2500 down to 1920 width-wise. It's not going to take the look and the feel away, if that makes sense.
Right.
But just something to think about. You might actually have to manually go in and update those. Squishers and smushers are really good to a certain extent. However, just like if you have a medical issue and then you have symptoms on the external, you got to kind of dive into the internal to figure out where is the core issue and where is it at. It could be web hosting. Personally, we use SiteGround. We don't really have a problem with them.
We use SiteGround a lot. We use Kinsta for any national clients.
Yep.
So our own website, we use Kinsta because they use Google Cloud for the web hosting, and it's really fast. So we love that. SiteGround has been good for the most part.
Yep.
And then KnownHost is out there. There's a handful of places, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a clean website. You may just have some image issues that need to get resolved and see how that comes out.
Yep.
And then from the SEO technical back end, I mean, you'd have to dig further on that.
Yeah, super cool. Okay, guys, I think that is about it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for giving us your website to let us do audits on the fly. That's one of the parts that we absolutely love. As you guys can tell, we're two different types of personalities. We look at things two different types of ways, if that makes sense, and then we blend them all into as one, if that makes sense. We do appreciate you guys tuning in. For those that are actually watching the replay, welcome. If you have a website that you'd like to have audited, we will actually be doing website audits live once a month. So be sure to like our Facebook page, as well as you can check out our YouTube channel, subscribe, and Conor, whenever the Facebook Live goes live, he actually downloads it and then does some magic to it and then uploads it into YouTube. So you can actually view it there as well if you're a YouTube person.
And it's in HD on YouTube.
Yeah. Barb,
it's a big deal to me.
We look forward to talking to you soon. Reach out. We would love to have a chat. In the meantime, we hope everybody has a great Friday, and thank you so much for the support, the love, and have a great weekend.
All right, Valentine's Day is next weekend, guys.
That's the reminder. Guys or gals?
Or gals.
Guys or gals? Anybody. Next weekend's Valentine's Day.
You got 1 week to figure it out.
Go buy yourself something. All right, perfect. Thanks so much, guys. Chat soon.
All right, guys. Have a great day now. Thank you.